I went live this morning on Facebook and I could not find the button to end it. Everything worked, camera on, I said what I came to say, but when I was done, there was no visible way to close it. The end button was hidden behind something else on the screen. So you know what I did? I closed the whole thing, shut the laptop, hoped it ended in the background. And I thought, that's exactly what we do with the things we can't figure out how to end. The conversation, the commitment that expired, the promise we made to ourselves. We don't close it down. We just walk away and hope that it ends on its own. But it doesn't. It keeps running in the background, still draining you, still alive. There's usually a way to end it cleanly. We just have to stop hoping it'll close itself. What's the one you've been walking away from? So let me tell you what that hidden button actually is because it has a name. That thing running in the background, still alive, still draining you, even after you looked away, that's an open loop. And once you see them, you start seeing them everywhere. An open loop is a commitment, a promise, agreement, a conversation, or a decision that needed a clear ending and didn't get one. Something unfinished, unspoken, undecided, outdated. It just keeps pulling on your time and your energy and your peace. And here's the surprise, it's almost never big things. It's the 5-minute task that's taken up 5 days in your head. It's not the size, it's that it's still open. It isn't dramatic, it doesn't announce itself, it just isn't closed. And until it is, it snags on everything. Let me describe a feeling. You're overwhelmed. There's so many things happening at the same time because you're capable and responsible. Maybe you call yourself an overdoer. You've tried to get on top of it. You've read the books, used the system, downloaded the apps, bought the planner, but you still have the nagging sense that there's something lingering in the background. Maybe it's a conversation you haven't had, a decision you keep circling, or a promise you made to yourself and haven't kept. Or maybe it's a commitment that no longer fits that you're still holding. You're not tired only from your to do list, you're tired from what's unfinished. The unfinished conversations, decisions, promises, agreements, and commitments that needed an ending and didn't get one. So today we're going to take a look at the open loops that quietly run your life. An open loop stays mentally or relationally active. It keeps asking something of you, looking for a decision, a conversation, a completion, a renegotiation, or a conscious release or ending. And capable women are particularly good at carrying these open loops. We remember what everyone needs. We compensate when something isn't working. We tell ourselves we'll deal with our own stuff when everything else calms down. But silence isn't free, indecision isn't free, and unclear yes isn't free. We pay for those with our attention, our irritation, our resentment, our distance, and our self trust. Because everything has an expiration date. From the jeans you threw in the back of your closet 5 years ago to the lettuce sitting in the back of your fridge today, things expire. So commitments, promises, and agreements expire too. We join the gym, agree to serve on a board, take on a role, say yes to a business opportunity, then something changes. The purpose changes or our capacity changes. The agreement no longer matches reality, but we keep holding on to it because we've been taught winners never quit and quitters never win. And that belief can lead to all the overs: overworking, overcommitting, overgiving, overthinking, overdoing, and overwhelm. And I'm not saying that just because we don't like doing something, we should quit. Sometimes integrity means staying, finishing, and honoring what we promised. But sometimes the commitment really has expired. Intentional quitting means telling the truth about that and ending or renegotiating it with integrity. Not all quitting is giving up. Sometimes quitting is how you stop spending your life on something that's already over. What's required to close the loop and giving a proper ending to expired things? That's what we're going to talk about next. There are 4 types of open loops. Task loops. Those are the easy ones. This is something that's undone that keeps pulling at you, not necessarily because it's big, just because it's not done. You haven't scheduled it, delegated it, completed it, or consciously decided not to do it. So it sits there and waits for you. The appointment for your pet, an incorrect charge that needs a phone call, rescheduling something that's out there a month from now. Then there are decision loops. This is the choice you keep not making. The decision you circle in the middle of the night, trying to discern what the right approach is, the right choice. So unmade decisions take a lot of time and energy. The next open loop is a relational open loop. These exist between you and someone else, the conversation that you need to have with a friend, a partner, your mother, a grown child, a client, someone on your team. Something isn't working, but nobody's actually said anything about it. This is what I call an unspoken broken. Let's talk about self loops. These are the promises you make to yourself and repeatedly break. The boundary you meant to hold, the standard you meant to honor, the things you kept saying that you would do, setting your alarm for 6 o'clock but not getting up until 7, repeatedly breaking promises to yourself that quietly erodes your self trust and even gives some credibility to the idea of imposter syndrome. Right now, just take a minute to notice what came to mind when I told you about all those open loops. Was it a relationship, a promise you made to yourself, or a task, or a decision? Just notice, maybe put one down on the paper that's in front of you. If it keeps replaying at 2 in the morning, or before you walk through the door, or every time a certain name appears on your phone, it's probably an open loop. You may be wondering, if open loops are draining and distracting, how do they open in the first place? Well, I'll give you a business example from my own life. When I was running my large music and dance studio, I was also working for the director of development for Simply Music, and we had clients in Australia that we were working with, and they were about 17 hours ahead. So I got a call one night. I had my pajamas on, makeup off, and night cream on, and I got a call at 11:30, a FaceTime call. And what did I do? I answered it. I remember the way my husband looked at me in complete disbelief. And when that call ended, I realized I was feeling some resentment, but then realized I set it up that way. I had never said, please don't call after this hour. I had trained her to call me anytime she felt that she needed to. I had clearly never stated the boundary. I hadn't negotiated anything. I was quietly resenting an agreement that I had made by just not saying anything about it. And that's often how an open loop begins. Something wasn't clear, something was changed but not acknowledged, or we expected somebody to honor a boundary that we actually never stated. This isn't meant to blame anyone, but once you see it, it gives you the ability to see it and choose. Because if you helped create the pattern, you can change it one honest sentence at a time. So, what do you do with the open loop you just identified? You use close. The letters are CLOSE. C is capture. Get it out of your head and onto paper. A loop you can't name runs you. A loop you can see, you can close. Write one sentence. The thing that is still open is this. Not the entire history, not the case you could build around it, just the one thing that remains open. Then, step 2, L, locate. Which of the 4 types is it? Task, decision, relational, or self loop? Naming the type tells you what it needs. A task might need a date or a delegation. A decision may need a deadline. A self loop may need an honest recommitment or ending, and a relational loop usually needs a conversation. O, observe. Separate the facts from the story. What actually happened? What's your part in it? And what have you been telling yourself it means? The facts might be, I said yes, the deadline passed, we have not discussed it. I didn't say something when I saw it. The story might be, I'm being difficult. They should have known. They didn't mean it. Bringing it up will only make things worse. You need both honesty and accuracy. Facts give you something solid to work with. Naming your part in it removes blame. S, speak, say the thing. For a relational open loop, that's a conversation. For a decision or self loop, it may first be the thing that you want to admit privately. I don't want to keep doing this. I've been avoiding the decision. I said yes before I was clear. And then E, end, evolve, or honor. Close the loop on purpose. End it. It's complete, no longer necessary, or I'm ready to let it go. Evolve it. The agreement needs to change. Renegotiate the expectation, the scope, the timing, the boundary, or honor it. Recommit with your eyes wide open, not from guilt or resentment or habit, but because you've consciously decided that your integrity requires follow through. Closing an open loop does not mean that everyone always agrees. Sometimes your part becomes complete because you told the truth, made the decision, or established the next step. Your part can be clear even if they do not respond the way you hoped. Sometimes an open loop needs a conversation. The speak step is where it's required. This is where the peace framework comes in. So before you ever walk into a conversation, prepare yourself. You need to decide exactly what you want from the conversation. It could be to renegotiate something, to explain yourself, to understand them, to end something, but you need to know. And something that I love to say is 99% committed is much harder than 100%. If you know that you want to end the relationship, be 100% committed or don't have the conversation. If you know you want to evolve something, know exactly what that looks like. And if you're 100% committed, the conversation won't stray. Decide what matters, what you want to say, and what outcome you're actually seeking. Then I recommend you go practice. Just think about this. Pilots train in a simulator before they ever get in the air. Surgeons train before they ever use a knife. Police train before they ever hit the streets. Why don't you train for your most important conversations? You can use my app, try.peopleskills.com. The link is in the comments. So go practice before you have that really important conversation. Now, E, engage. Open softly. Open with an observation, never an accusation. And I like to ask if this is a good time to talk, and if not, when we can talk. So open with an observation. Avoid, we need to talk, or you always. Try, here's what I've noticed. You're not weakening the truth. You're creating a doorway through which truth can be heard. A, articulate. Own your part. I, me, my. Name the issue plainly, your part in it, and say what you want. Here's an example. I've noticed lately that when we go to social gatherings, you take off and hang out with your friends, and I'm left to stand by myself. The impact on me is that I feel socially awkward and I don't know what to do with myself while you're visiting with other people. My part in it is that I haven't said something to you sooner, and I'd like to stay with you at parties. And then I ask to collaborate. Ask a simple question and let them answer. You're opening a conversation. You're not delivering a verdict. And just so you know, they're not reading from your script, so stay steady when they react without matching their heat or collapsing into, never mind. That's the skill. Go practice. Finally, E, establish. Land on something clear. An ask, a boundary, an agreement, a decision, or next step. Don't finish the conversation by creating a new loop. Find the end. Clarity isn't cruelty. Said early, owned honestly, and delivered with respect, it's often the kindest thing you can do. You don't need to carry all of this, and you do not need to close everything today, but you do have to stop telling yourself that silence isn't costing you anything, and that delayed action isn't costing you anything. It does cost you. So come back to the open loop that came to mind earlier, the relationship, the promise to yourself, the task, the decision, and ask yourself right now, does this need to be ended, evolved, or honored? And then ask, what's the next honest move? Not the perfect move, not the move that guarantees the other person will respond well, but the next honest move. So I have a few resources for you at closetheloopsnow.com. There's a short quiz that will show you how you tend to communicate under pressure and what's most likely to derail you in these moments. If you want to practice the conversation before you have it, you'll find the difficult conversation simulator there too. Try.peopleskills.com. There are dozens of pre-built scenarios there, different personalities to practice with, and feedback on how you did. And if you already know what open loop you want to address, use the Close One Loop tool. It walks you through one open loop from start to finish using exactly what we covered today. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. Just pick your loudest open loop and close one. That's where your energy comes back. I'm Robin Quinn Keene, and this is The Liberated Life. See you again soon.